Hello, welcome back to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. So, these past 2 weeks have been very rough. My baby was in the hospital. Now all of us are sick. You can probably tell in my voice. And I wasn't sure if I was going to make an episode this week. I was honestly kind of dreading it. I didn't make one last week because my baby was in the hospital and we didn't really have the time and I didn't really have the energy. And right now I'm still sick. We all have a virus, so I didn't think I was going to make one this week either because I just didn't have the energy. But today, after I got home, I felt like I can make an episode. And we've had so many doctor's appointments here lately. It's been really hard, honestly. Like taking care of a sick baby whenever you're also sick, it's really hard. And then on top of that, she has been refusing to sleep unless we're holding her. And whenever I'm sleeping with her, I will only do it if I'm holding her in a certain way. She has to be in between my inner elbow or the crook of my elbow, whatever it's called. And I also keep her in the middle in between us so that she doesn't fall off the bed. So whenever we're doing that, I can only really sleep in one position and it gets really uncomfortable very easily. Whenever I'm sick, my frustration tolerance is so low and I just can't handle anything. I get so overwhelmed, so annoyed super easily. So it's been really hard being patient with her, and I am normally so patient with her, but it's been really hard while I've been sick, and I've been feeling really guilty about that. But also I just feel like crap. And I have felt like crap, and she's getting over it. The reason why we all have it is because she had it. And it's part of why she was in the hospital, but it's just been a lot. And last night she slept over at someone else's house for the first time, and I felt weird her not being here, but also I was just so exhausted that I didn't really even notice. I just slept so much. And I'm so grateful for that because those nights, they're horrible for both of us. My boyfriend, he's still going to work even though he's sick because we need the money. And it's just a really tough time for us right now. But and everyone that helps us out, my mom, my boyfriend's grandmother, they're sick too. So it's just like all of us are so sick. We all feel like crap and we're all taking care of her. We're so grateful to be able to have people who are willing to help us out. And not even willing, they're enthusiastic. They're excited to help us out. And I can't even imagine what we would have done if we didn't have them because it's really hard. And I am so grateful that I got to get some sleep last night. Even if I didn't get a lot, I still got more than I would have got if she were to be here. It made me sad because that was the first time she was ever away from home, and I have a lot of anxiety whenever it comes to that. I want to make sure that she always has safe sleep. So we brought her owlet sock over there. But I had to let go of some of that control in order to help me feel better. But I want to go ahead and get into the episode. My baby's with me right now. I just went to pick her up. I had a doctor's appointment and then picked her up afterwards. So for this episode, I want to talk about how to observe but not absorb. So I'm sure all of us have been in situations where we're around people that are really difficult people. It's really hard to be around them. It's really hard to talk and communicate with them because they're just a lot. Some of them yell and scream. Some of them shut down and won't talk. And I've definitely been that person that shuts down. We can be around people that are really difficult and really trigger us for whatever reason. Maybe they're being controlling. Maybe they're being really unkind. Maybe they're super stubborn. Maybe they're always negative. There are so many different experiences, so many different personality traits of people that can be really triggering to us for whatever reason. And for this episode, I wanted to talk about how to handle situations like that. Specifically, how to observe how they're acting and what they're doing, noticing what's going on, noticing how they feel, noticing why they're acting the way that they do, but not absorbing it, not letting it bother you, not letting it become something that you start thinking about all the time, not letting it be this thing that makes you resentful towards that person. Because even though resentment is something that happens because of someone else's actions, it's also because we let it become resentment. We let it build up. We let that become something that's an issue for us. And we resent that person for however they're acting. And also, I'm probably going to make an episode about resentment in the future, but resentment, if you're the type of person that easily resents someone, that's actually a good sign. It's a sign that you have a lot of self-respect and self-love, and that's so important. But you can have self-love and self-respect without letting these things weigh on you and without letting them become this thing that is taking over your life, taking over your thoughts, whenever your thoughts should be about your own life and your own situations, not other people, not how other people treat you or how other people act or how uncomfortable you were around a situation. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't process these things if they're happening. I'm just going to share how to make this not happen from the beginning. How to, in the moment where the resentment may start, how to avoid that from happening so that you don't end up suffering in the long run. And if there's resentment that's already there, you will need to process that. But from now on, after listening to this episode, hopefully, you will be able to stop resenting them and stop focusing on and worrying so much about this other person who doesn't really matter on your journey. If they make you feel bad about yourself, if they treat you poorly, if they hurt your feelings, if they're the type of person that yells and you can't be around people that raise their voice a lot. I get it, trust me, it's terrifying for me being around people that raise their voice. But you can learn how to not let this become something that affects you and let it be their own issue. And for me, whenever I'm observing something but not absorbing, I observe how they're acting and I observe maybe why they're acting the way that they are. I think about like this person is probably really insecure or has a lot of built up anger and resentment, or maybe they're going through something that's really stressful that has nothing to do with me, or they're not taking care of themselves. They don't know how to approach their mental health. They've had a lifelong experience of pretty bad experiences lifelong. And there could be so many reasons. So I observed that and I watched, like, they're acting this way for this reason. Like, for example, this person is screaming and raising their voice because they feel unheard. Or this person is shutting down and not talking because they are scared to put themselves out there and feel like they need to make themselves small. And whenever we notice those kinds of things without judgment, it helps us have empathy for those people so that we don't see them as bad. And that's one of the biggest steps whenever it comes to making sure that you don't resent someone or absorb their negative energies, because if you just feel bad for them, then you're coming at the situation from a place of love, which is exactly what they need. People who are difficult, it's because they need love and they've been through a lot. And of course, you don't have to be that person for them, but at least just being kind to them and being understanding and understanding why they are the way that they are without taking it personally, that is a great step for maybe even helping them heal, helping them become better. Some of these people, all they need is for someone to be kind to them. I know whenever I was going through so much and I was the type of person that would just shut down and make myself small and I wouldn't stand up for myself, it was because I just needed someone to be kind to me. I hated myself so much, and if someone were to just be nice to me and not get irritated at me for things that I can't even help, responses that are ingrained in me that I didn't create. I would have felt so much better, and I know a lot of us would have. So think of it like that. Think of it as this person is really struggling, and I can be the person that's kind to them right now. And whenever you're doing that, you're automatically not absorbing. You're observing, but you're not absorbing their negativities, their own self-hatred. Because truth is, whenever we get invested in people like this, it can really negatively affect us. It can make us become more like them. Whenever we resent someone, we act in ways that we are not proud of. And a lot of the time we blame it on them. We say it's their fault. Like, they treated me poorly, so I'm in the right whenever I act this way. But we're not in the right whenever we act like that, because two rights don't make a wrong. And whenever we get to the point of resenting someone, that is because we chose to let that bother us. We chose to let that bring us down. We chose to let their energy be absorbed by us. So an example I could use is, say you're going to visit family for the holidays, and there's one specific family member who always causes trouble, who always starts drama, and you are dreading it because they always make the energy really bad. They always make the whole situation feel so much less enjoyable. But you still want to go because you still want to see other family members that maybe you haven't seen in a while, and you still want to spend time with the people that you love. But this one person is just making you question if you should go or not. First, prepare yourself, because you know that it's probably going to happen. Prepare yourself in any way. Remind yourself that everything is going to be okay, and you stay in your own energy. And whenever you get there, if it happens, just observe. Just watch what they're doing. Just look at their actions. And if your anxiety is starting to rise and you know that you're starting to absorb it, leave the room. Go to the bathroom. Get up and walk out. It doesn't matter if that person gets angry at you for walking out. It doesn't matter, because their anger is not your problem. Your problem right now is making sure that you're safe and you're okay. And if you have kids or a partner that you would want to take with you, making sure they're safe and they're okay. Your problem is not making sure that that person who starts drama, or who is always angry for no reason, or who is just has a temper. They're not your problem. Making them feel better is not your problem. Interacting with them is not your job, even if they get angry at you. But if you're able to sit there, and I used to be the type of person that would have to leave the room because it was too scary, and I still am sometimes, but I'm at a place now where I'm able to sit there and watch and not absorb it for the most part. If they start trying to interact with me or engage me into the conversation, it can get hard and I will have to leave the room. But if they're not engaging with me and they're engaging with other people, it is easier for me to observe what they're doing, observe their actions. It's really easy to watch and notice, like, this person is really struggling. This person really dislikes themselves. This person is having a really hard day. It's really easy to notice those things and to not make it about me. Not feel like this person is making me feel this way. It's that this person feels this way, if that makes sense. Like, this person is not responsible for my feelings. If I'm feeling anxious and overwhelmed, even if it's because of how they're acting, it is not their fault. That is my own problem that I have to deal with, not them. It's not their job to fix that, just like it's not your job to fix whatever's going on with them. And even if they're targeting you, they're angry at you for something that you did, maybe you said something that hurt their feelings or whatever happened, it is still not your responsibility to take care of their feelings, because everyone's feelings is their own responsibility, regardless of what triggered those feelings. So if you unintentionally said something that really hurt their feelings, for example, you can apologize, of course, but do not absorb, do not become what I used to do all the time, this person that feels like it's your obligation to fix it, to make them feel better. You feel like you can't grow as a person, you can't become closer to yourself because you are scared that they won't move on from this situation. And I know, like, you saying something that hurt their feelings, that's probably not going to cause that. For some people it might, but there's even situations where it's bigger, and maybe you really did hurt someone but you didn't know you were hurting them, or you really hurt someone but you were trying to take care of yourself, but in the process of doing that it hurt someone. It's okay to apologize. It's okay to feel bad. Process all of that, but don't absorb it, because the second you absorb it, the second it becomes this self-hatred, and you kind of feel exactly how they feel. And I know it can be really hard, especially if you've hurt someone and you don't want to move on because you feel like you're not allowed to. You feel like it's not fair for you to be doing okay and for you to be happy if they aren't. But truth is, it's not your job. It's not your responsibility. Of course, like I said, apologize. Explain yourself to them if you have to, if they're ready for that. But be calm. Sit there, listen to them. Let them vent to you. Let them talk to you about what happened. A lot of the time, it's just a misunderstanding. A lot of the time, it's that they made an assumption about what you were saying. A lot of the time, they heard something different than what you said. And that really resolves a lot of issues whenever you're not absorbing everything else around you. You're not absorbing their negative energies, even if their negative energy is a response to something that you did. And honestly, if we're not absorbing it and we're staying within ourselves and we're not letting it become an issue for us, we are a lot better at listening to the other person and hearing their side of the story without feeling like we need to defend ourselves. Because whenever we're absorbing their energies and absorbing how they feel, we feel the need to defend ourselves because we don't want them to think that we're bad, because we feel like we are bad because of something that we did. But you're not bad for unintentionally hurting people. A lot of the time it was just an innocent mistake. So practice active listening without feeling the need to defend yourself. Just let them say how they feel. Let them say what they did. Try to understand their perspective without bringing yours into it. You can bring yours into it afterwards, but just listen. And then whenever you're in a situation where someone is acting a certain way, but it has nothing to do with you, you didn't do anything, they're not targeting you specifically, the biggest thing is detachment. Detaching from how they're acting, detaching from how they're feeling. And whenever you're detached from how they're feeling, it can be easier for you to stay within your own emotions, to set boundaries with them if it's required. Whenever we're anxious and we're around someone who is acting a certain way, it can be hard to set boundaries because we don't want to trigger them and we don't want to set them off. But whenever we're detached from how they're feeling and their own things, then it isn't really affecting us, and it makes it a lot easier to set boundaries and limits and stand up for ourselves, stand up for the other people around us. If we need to jump in and stop something really bad from happening. Of course, it is not your responsibility to have to do that. If you're so scared and so overwhelmed you need to leave the room, then do that. Make sure that that person is okay. Like if something physical is about to happen, calling the cops, doing something to help the situation. You don't have to feel bad for not putting yourself into it. But if you stay detached, it is a lot easier to put yourself into that and help the people out that need help, to stand up for yourself, to stand up for them, to set boundaries for yourself and for other people, and to keep everyone safe. Okay. I think that's it for this episode. I know it's really short, but something that I have accepted is that I'm in a stage of life where it's really hard to make my podcast my main priority. And I was feeling really bad that my episodes are not as good now as they were before I restarted my podcast. But truth is, that's just because I'm in a stage of life where I have a baby who needs my care 24/7. And I don't really have the time or energy to focus as much on my podcast. And if it was up to me, I would spend 45 minutes talking about this. I would prepare more. I would have more to talk about. I wouldn't be getting distracted and forgetting what I was talking about so many times. And it would be a lot easier to make episodes that I'm more proud of. But my episodes are still very good and very helpful, even now, even if they're not expressing my full potential and what I'm fully able to do. That's okay. That's just the stage of life that I'm in right now, and in the future it'll be better. And at least I am still working on my podcast. At least I'm still putting episodes out, even though it's hard. And in the future, maybe I'll be in a different stage of life where it's easier to work on my episodes and really make them what I want them to be, really put my heart and my soul into my podcast. I don't really have the energy or time to do it now whenever I'm taking care of a baby who always has needs that I have to meet. I have to meet her every need, and that's what's important right now. I don't know why I always beat myself up over this stuff. For a long time, I was starting to feel like I didn't enjoy my podcast and I wanted to quit because it feels like my episodes are never coming out how I want them to. And that's really disheartening and heartbreaking because my podcast is so important to me. But I know that right now, my main job and my main purpose at this time is to take care of my baby and to raise her how I've always wanted to raise my kids. And to be there for her. And if that means I can't put as much energy into my podcast right now, that's okay. Okay, I think that's it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next Sunday.